I'm going to pass this over now to Rodger Blaker, and he's with Blaker Business Coaching, and he's going to be talking to you about the why of your business. So,
or the why who you are. Let me kind of lay this out to start with. I've been researching this quite a bit, and especially this week, and probably where I got the who to you is because I was thinking that as I was doing this, but it is why. So I've made a lot of notes here because I collected a lot of information. So in order to make sure that I cover this point by point to hopefully string it together, I'm going to be referring to these notes a lot as opposed to free-forming it because I just collected the data. And this is not my stuff. This is stuff that I've found by putting it together. But I hope it makes a point to why it's important for a business owner, and we've been talking about starting a business, entrepreneurship, all those pieces about the what, who, and how, and all those things, and marketing or whatever. This goes a little more depth into marketing, but it really speaks to the heart of the matter. Also talked about to start with about finding your passion, those kinds of things. This is going to wrap back around to that, and so when I put it together, it's not something that I have presented or spoke to a lot, so I can't roll it off my tongue. So without trying to sound like I'm reading, I'm going to be covering a lot of information that I'm looking at notes, so just bear with me on this, and hopefully it'll play out to where it makes sense to you. And so one of the things I wondered about, and I have clients this way, and I know we all experience it, is why that some people, explaining why some people are high achievers, and what are some of the things that really are patterns. An example of Apple. Apple's very innovative. Year after year, they are leading in their business, but again, they're just another computer company. So why are they different? What makes them successful? There's other examples of computer companies that aren't so much in different things, so I want to show some examples of that. But really back to why Apple is, what's about them that makes them different. And one of the things that I found that is common with that Apple displays, but all leaders or innovators or people that really inspire whatever, they got something that's very common. They're all exactly the same as something they do. And that's what I want to talk about is the why, because they have this. And the majority of people and individuals, organizations, and businesses do just the opposite of what these do. So I want to cover this in a format that hopefully will track, and we'll see, and I'll have to go back and watch this and see how well I did on this. So did you get the PowerPoint thing to where they can display?
yes, and I've got it in the
Just put up the first one. That'd probably be the only one we'll need to use.
number one, yeah.
Okay, good, because that gives a visual for people to see as I talk through this. Because if I tried to explain it, it may not make much sense. But let me show you what we got here. So just keep that up there for a minute. Let me kind of walk through this and give you an idea of why some organizations really do inspire and other ones don't. And going to tell you typically how we function and how organizations that function that are not so successful, and when you are or whatever, there's a difference, and I'll go through this process. For example, the what, the outside circle, that is something that we all know what we do. 100%. Everybody knows what they do. Whether you're doing things in your personal life, whether you're doing a business, whether you work for an organization, you know what you do. Everybody's got that. The second level, the how, may not be so much. Most organizations probably don't really know so much about how they do what they do. And very typically, people don't know why they do it. And I do have why up there. No, I got who. I'm sorry. So display that word. Yeah, that was my mistake there. It's what for putting it out and not really going through and researching or being careful about my editing. But that's why. So not who, it's why. It's why we do what we do, and most people miss that. Most organizations do, most individuals do, and that makes the difference. So I saw this pattern in organizations that are highly successful, and they're very clear about that. So the results are that people don't connect with that passion, and when they're doing it, they do it from outside in, as opposed to successful organizations that do it from inside out. It's why, how, and what. Apple's a good example of that. So let me kind of give you an example here of how Apple works this. I'm going to give you a marketing statement that typical computer companies can make. Apple could do it this way. So let me just say this to you and see how you feel or think about what I say here. Typical thing that Apple could say is, we make great computers. They're beautifully designed. They're simple to use and user-friendly. You want to buy one? Just like any other computer company, right? There's no difference. There's nothing in there that really resonates to you.
Yeah, why would I want to?
Yeah. I mean, you could buy any of them. There's nothing that makes them unique. But let's remember, Apple is always leading the leading edge. There's a difference why that happens for them, because all computer companies could say that statement, and most of them say it like that. That's the way they view it. It's like, okay, we make beautifully designed computers.
Mavericks, I always see them. They're always fighting Goliath of IBM and also Microsoft. So.
Well, but it goes deeper than that, though, and I want to really point out too that this could be an outside marketing term, but think about it: all their employees, everybody they hire, everybody in the company, Steve Jobs down, has a different perspective of thing, and they have the why. The statement I just said there doesn't really refer to why. It's head stuff. It just simply gives you information. It doesn't really touch anything. So it's not just that they market to the public that way. It's that people in the company have a passion for something. And that's where I want to go with this, why it's really important. So if you just take that situation that way, it doesn't make much sense to why would I care who I buy a computer from. Let me give you an example like a law firm. We're a law firm. You know, we have top clients. We always service them to the maximum of their benefit or whatever. Our automobile company, we have cars, we sell cars, they get great gas mileage, they have leather seats. Who cares? I mean, it doesn't really cause me to want to go buy that car, see that law firm, or buy a computer from a particular organization if that's the way I speak to it. So does that, do you see how that makes sense? Okay, so now I want to say, here's what Microsoft actually said. This is what they believe. This is how they hire their employees.
Microsoft?
I'm sorry, not
Apple.
Microsoft, Apple. This is how they function. This is the way they would word this. This is why the employees in the company, that means something to them. This is the reason why they are innovative, is something along the line like this. Let me see here. In everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in making a difference. And the way we challenge the status quo is that we create products that are beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to build computers. Want to buy one? Do you see the difference of the who? They speak to who they are. They don't even start with the computer. That's secondary. They speak to what they're passionate about. They speak to what matters. And that's the reason why when you see successful companies or individuals or even politicians, if they can speak to why they do, what their purpose, what matters to them, that's what draws people in. I think I said in a few sessions back that it isn't, people don't really care about what you do or whatever, they care about their problem. Well, the way you touch them about solving their problem is you speak to why you exist and why it matters to you, or why you do. Okay, so that's a good example of it. Now, this explains perfectly why that people buy Apple products. And I'm going to give you some examples of computer companies that have tried things that didn't work well. For an example, I have found out that by doing some research at Gateway decided a few years ago that they were going to get in the flat screen TV business. Okay. And so they started developing. Hey,
I didn't know that.
Well, guess what? Gateway is highly qualified. I mean, they've been making flat screen monitors for years. Yeah. It didn't work. Then you have Dell. Dell got into MP3 and PDAs. They're capable of making that. It's technology stuff. It didn't sell. It didn't fit because who's going to buy an MP3 player from a computer company? Well, we do it every day. We buy it from Apple, but we don't buy it from them because they haven't connected people about why they do what they do like Apple has. Okay. That's a significant point. Are you're kind of looking at me? Is it tracking for you? Because this is kind of hard.
Yeah, because I had never thought about it, and so I was like thinking of Dell. Why would I think that way? And I just don't think of them. I only see them making,
yes, computers. So does Apple.
The only thing I know about the guy is I think he started the business small, but they really don't have an identity. Except
why do they exist? What's their purpose?
To sell computers.
You know, but I mean, it's
They
got
do
to.
have good computers.
That's
I
again
have
head.
it all.
It's head knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a thing. But why is Apple so far ahead of everybody else and so innovative?
They can
and
add stuff like the iPhone and everything else,
Exactly.
and it seems
because
like, oh yeah, it's an Apple.
because they're committed to being innovative and challenging the status quo, doing it, thinking differently. And the only way that they can really accomplish that is the employees in the company have got to think and feel the same way.
Okay.
They're attracted to work for somebody that way. They're challenged to think and be innovative because obviously Steve Jobs couldn't do this by himself at all.
No.
But what inspires people is because they know that that's the company's passion, is why they do what they do. They want to challenge the status quo. They want to always be the bleeding edge of everything. And the people that work for them have that challenge, and they want to go to somewhere because that value that they display, the people that work for them have that same value, and that's where we're really going with this.
Yeah, why the iPhone? There's a lot of Androids coming out, but the iPhone is like right now super popular.
You have them come in behind, but look what they do. And next thing, they'll be doing something ahead of everybody else again because of innovation. So I want to make this statement here because this kind of ties it back. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me repeat that. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Okay.
And if you're going to be marketing and sell, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be in a relationship, this is interpersonal too. If you're going to be in a relationship, they want to know who you are and why you do what you do. Not how you do it or what you do. It's what your passions are. That's how you connect.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. The goal.
I like
okay,
that.
the goal is not to do business with everybody. This is another thing because I did talk about this earlier about finding your niche. It's not to do business with everybody who needs what you do or your product or your service. The really good businesses do business with people that believe what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not your goal to do business with everybody that needs your product and services. It's to do business with people that believe what you believe.
I like that.
But here's the trick to it. You got to know what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who you are, you don't know your passion, you don't know your purpose, how are you going to be able to sell to anybody that doesn't do it? Because they don't do it in their head. I'm going to actually give you some kind of science behind this. This is not about psychology. This is about biology.
Okay.
If you got people that are very technical, how are we doing on time, by the way?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
4 minutes.
If you got people that are really technical saying, nah, that's not true because I always go through and do the analyzing and all that kinds of stuff. Well, I'm going to give you scientific information that that's not true, whether they think that or not. So if I can cover this very quickly, I'll try to cover through this. If you look at the brain, a human brain, the Homo sapien brain, the neocortex is on the top. Mm-hmm. That's all your reasoning. That's your capacity for rationalizing, all of the analytical thinking, all that stuff. That's the part of the brain. But the limbic brain part, that's the part that does the feelings. That's the part that does the loyalty and trust. Also responsible for human behavior on all decisions. But that part doesn't have language. The only part that has language is the neocortex. And they've got to connect. So if you're telling people informations and facts, mm-hmm. they can think that that's what they buy from. They don't make decisions from there. It's made from the limbic part of the brain. Okay. And scientifically, therefore, you've got to touch and reach that part of the brain and to have that function because they're not going to buy because you give them facts and figures. So when somebody's trying to sell something or tell them all this quality stuff, that isn't going to touch them. It's got to touch that emotional part of them. So it's a scientific fact of how this all works. So I hope I haven't tracked this too fast and confusing to people. This is probably something we could have spent more time in the program on, huh?
Well, yeah, because I'm like going, and it's and it comes through. I mean, I buy things on the shelf. My mind is kind of doing it, comparing it with my business and everything else. And mm-hmm. all I can think is I do best sales in person, and maybe it's because I convey. When I'm in person, I that's the way I like to do it.